Now, let's look at eligibility of appointment in the civil service. Eligibility. Let's look at eligibility. Eligibility. Sometimes it is called criteria. If you go through the civil service charter, a document we call the civil service charter. If you go through the civil service charter of the federal civil service, you will see how basically this eligibility or criteria are being stated for anyone to be employed into the service. Now, let's look at some of these criteria or eligibility that an individual needs to possess before he or she can be considered for any type of appointment in the civil service. First, we talk about age. Now, there's age bracket for you to be employed in civil service. You have to be either a minimum of 18 years of age or a maximum of 50 years. Is between 18 and 50. So if you are below 18, you cannot be employed. If you are above 50, you cannot be employed. However, that does not mean that somebody is above 50 cannot be employed in the civil service. No. By the time we start talking about types of appointment, you will now see why this age bracket has to come in between 18 and 50. But we'll explain that further when we start talking about types of civil service. Types of appointment, sorry. Then the second thing the individual needs to possess, he or she has to be a Nigerian for you to be employed. That does not mean a non-Nigerian or an expatriate cannot be employed, but that can only happen where there is no Nigerian for that particular position. However, we'll discuss that later when we start talking about types of appointment also. Then he or she has to possess a local government of origin. Very key. We want to know which local government. There are 774 local governments in Nigeria. We want to know which of the local governments that individual is from. Again, that individual has to be medically fit. Anybody who wants to get appointment into the civil service must bring what we call medical fitness report. You go to any what we call ACP, healthcare provider. That healthcare provider has to be certified by government. NHIs, they are the one that takes care of that aspect. That health facility has to be certified by government that such facility can run medical fitness tests for any individual who wants to get appointment into the civil service. Again, one of the eligibilities is that such individual must have minimum qualification for you to be employed into the service. BSc, HND, ND, just name it. You have to have that minimum qualification needed for you to be employed in the civil service. Again, such individual must have what we call testimonial or last report from your primary place of employment. Let's look at somebody who's coming from the private sector. An individual coming from the private sector, left the private sector, is coming now to want to be a civil servant or wants to join the civil service. It is expected that you come with a report to show that these are the things, or rather a report telling the civil service that you were wonderful while you were with them. You come with that, they call it testimonial. Then again, such individual must not have anything to do with financial embarrassment, must not be involved in any financial misconduct. That is another criteria, or criterion rather. That is another eligibility. Then we talked about again, one of the eligibilities again is that such individual must not be convicted before any court of law. That does not mean that an individual convicted of a minor crime like traffic offense cannot be given an appointment. No. We want to talk about the service knows what they are looking for. Then such individual must have very key, must have NYSC discharge certificate. We saw it with one of the ministers that left under the past administration. Under Muhammadu Buhari, the Minister of Finance then. The issue came up that she had no discharge certificate and she does not have exemption letter, that she had no business being in public service. And at the end of the day, she left, honorably left. So for you to come into the service, you must have your discharge certificate or exemption letter. Then again, such individual must show that if you have not been dismissed from any government agency before. Because we see situations where an individual can be dismissed from one government agency, goes to the next to want to seek employment. So there is always room to show to the service that you've not been dismissed before. So what we've just said covers eligibility of eligibility for any individual to be employed into the civil service. And let's look at types of appointments. Yeah, that you have these qualifications, you have this, you have that. There are categories, there are different types of appointment through which your qualification or whatever you are bringing will propel you to be given one of these types of appointment we want to look at now. Now, the first type of appointment we want to look at is what we call trainee. Some other places they will call it PPO, training appointment. When we talk about trainee, as the word sounds, you are bringing in somebody who does not have the experience, the requisite experience. He or she does not have the requisite experience. Okay, let me break it down. Somebody graduated, an individual graduated in 2007 or graduated 2024. Let's put it that way. The individual graduated, or better still, graduated 2023, and this is NYSC, a 1-year compulsory NYSC 2024. And afterwards, he or she got an appointment into the service. That same year, he or she finished his or her service. Now, the appointment he or she is supposed to get is what we call trainee, because it's assumed that such an individual has not gotten any experience to be placed on that grade level 8 or grade level 7, as the case may be. So he or she has not gotten that requisite, he has not gotten that experience. So such appointment is called trainee or PPO. So any appointment that is given which requires an additional professional experience for one to be fully qualified to a particular post on which he or she is being employed is called a trainee. However, that training, it can be reduced. Normally, on training posts, it is not more than 2 years. But it depends on the agency that is handling the appointment. It could be reduced to less than 2 years. It could be reduced to 6 months for you to now be qualified. You'll be given the experience you need. You'll now be qualified to go into such position. Now, the next one we have is probation for pensionable post. I want to say probation for pensionable post. I want to talk about pensionable post. It means that probation for pensionable post, what it simply means is any first appointment that an individual gets, besides training, any first appointment an individual gets besides a training appointment is known as afterwards, such individual is expected to take a confirmation exam. Afterwards, such individual is expected to take confirmation exam to be fully engaged into the service, and such position is pensionable. It means such an individual is tied to have his or her monthly pension. Now, after that, after the probation on pensionable post, we look at the next type of appointment, which is short-term appointment. Short-term appointment covers various types of sub-appointments in civil service. For example, you have the contracts. They are all short appointments. They are called short because the lifespan of the appointment is perhaps not above 4-6 years, as the case may be. You have contract. One of them is contract appointment. You have sabbatical appointment. You have career exchange program. You have a talent sourcing strategy. You have internship and volunteerism. All these are all short-term appointments because the lifespan of this appointment don't last long, and they are not tied to pension. They are not pensionable at all. And normally, these appointments, there are contracts that guide. There are certain contracts put together that guide the way this appointment is being done. Now, let's look at each of them under the short appointment. Let's look at each of them briefly. Let's look at what they are and how. Now, first on the list here, let's look at contract appointment. Now, what is contract appointment? Contract appointment normally is when somebody is being employed into the service for a short period of time, perhaps for 4 years. And the service structured in such a way that for any contract appointment to be given, it must not be below salary grade level 12. It must not be below grade level 12 for for a contract appointment to be given. What it means is that you cannot come to the civil service looking for appointment for grade level 10. No, it's not workable. So it's from grade level 12 that contract appointment are being given. Now the question is now, who and who gets this contract appointment? Who and who gets this contract appointment? Now, as we said before, it's not pensionable. Contract appointment is not pensionable. However, pensioners, normally a pensioner should be somebody who is above 60 years or somebody who has served 35 years in the service. So that is where the age thing comes in. If you remember, when we started talking about eligibility, we said for you to be eligible to the service, we said you have to be between 18 and 50 years. But now when I see a pensioner who's been at 50 years coming in under appointment, we talked about it the other time. Anybody that is above 50 years can be employed into the service. Either is normally given a what we call contract appointment. Now, 50 years individual can be employed as contract appointment. A pensioner can be employed as contract appointment into the civil service. However, that does not mean that an expatriate cannot be given an appointment. An expatriate can be given an appointment where a Nigerian with corresponding skills is not available for that particular position. An expatriate who has such qualification or skills can be given such an appointment. Again, contract appointment normally should be for 1 or 2 years and a maximum of 4 years. 1 year, it can be renewed 2 years, and it does not go above 4 years. Contract appointment does not go above 4 years. And for all this, when we talk about contract appointment normally, we are looking at competence. When they're talking about contract appointment, we're looking at competence, where there are no corresponding skills in the service. Perhaps those who have managed this particular post, they are no longer there with that requisite skills. Now, the government can decide to say, or the line agency can decide to say, we have these persons who have retired from the service, but due to the skills that they have, and we do not have the corresponding persons to fill in this gap, these persons can still be brought in under contract appointment. However, when contract appointments are done, Federal Civil Service Commission are always notified. They're always notified for re-engagement. They're always notified. Now, in the course of your contract appointment, when one is, let's say you come into the service and a contract appointment is given to you for 1 year, and you seek for another renewal, you write. But before you write, it must be 4 months before your leave, because you are treated as a civil servant. But one of the things you don't get is the pension. You are not pensionable. But before, if you know you want to be re-engaged, you write 4 months before your leave. You now apply for re-engagement. If you are to be re-engaged, the commission will notify you that, okay, you are to be re-engaged. If you are not to be re-engaged, they will also notify you that you cannot be re-engaged. That is for re-engagement of a contract officer who wants to continue in the service for, as we said, no more than 2 or the maximum of 4 years. Now, in the course of this re-engagement, you have your original document. This original document, which is the original document of the contract letter or whatever, is being sent, duly signed. It's being sent to the Federal Civil Service Commission. It's been sent to the Federal Civil Service Commission, while the duplicate remains with the individual who is to be engaged as a contract officer, or as the case may be. Now, again, for somebody who has served in the service, and retired and wants to come back, let's paint this picture. Now, a civil servant who has this programming skill in a particular agency retires, and when he left, there was no corresponding individual who can take up that position, and the individual feels like, the retiree feels like coming back. It can be re-employed. Once such individual is re-employed, what they do, if the individual re-employed as grade level 16 officer, which is deputy director, when he is being re-engaged, he will no longer take that same position upon which he retired. It takes a grade level below, which is grade level 15, which is assistant director. However, The step, let's assume when he retired as grade level 16, step 50, step 10, for instance. Grade level 16, step 10. When he's coming back, it will come back as grade level 15. Now, that step which he retired with will be maintained, which is grade level 10. And there's no need tampering with the step at which he retired with. All these are also called contract appointment. Now, the next short-term appointment we shall look at is sabbatical. When we talk about sabbatical, what comes to mind is professor, research. Yes, also a sabbatical appointment in civil service where individuals want to go for research, and sabbatical appointment is normally no more than 1 year. It's normally no more than 1 year. And sabbatical appointment is only allowed for grade level 15 and above in the service, which is assistant director or a professor. They are allowed to go for sabbatical appointment. Why they are going for sabbatical appointment? Their primary office is responsible for their salary. Their primary office is responsible for their salary for that period because it's assumed that they are on leave. Then the host MDA will be responsible for their travel and allowance, lodging, sundry, and other things that may accompany another cost that may accompany the officer from moving from one point to another. Now, the third one we shall look at under contract appointment. We look at internship. In our next class, we'll start from there before we go into the next topic for the day. Thank you very much for listening.